Across the Park podcast is proud to be sponsored by Globe Gas and Heating. For the best kitchen and bathroom renovations, boiler servicing and repair, and central and underfloor heating in the Northwest, head over to globecentralheating.com and quote Across the Park for a free quote.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Across the Park podcast. At that time of the week again, it is the opposition preview. I'm joined again by a good friend of the show, Justin from Up the Villa. How are you doing, Justin?
I'm very good, mate. How are you?
Superb, mate. Yeah, fantastic. Now that we've got rid of one time.
I bet you are. I bet you are.
Well, yeah, obviously a few changes at Goodison in the last week, which we'll get into in a moment. Not so much the case at yourselves. Obviously a pretty decent season so far. We're obviously going to focus a lot of this episode on Villa. We will touch on, of course, the appointment of David Moyes and whether that might mean a slightly different approach to this game. Hopefully it does. But to be fair, would you say, Justin, it's been a good season so far, considering the fact you've had the challenges, obviously, of Champions League football as well?
It's been an interesting season. I didn't really know what to expect. Obviously, we had a magnificent season last year. That qualified for the Champions League first time in 40-odd years, which was just absolutely incredible. So obviously, the start of this season was really exciting. The Champions League draw, amazing draw. You had Bayern Munich at home the first game, Juventus. We've got Celtic to come. I'm actually off to Monaco on Monday. I'm over for 3 days. Would you believe I've been a Villa fan for all my life, and this is the first away European game. I've been trying to get tickets for every single game in Europe since we re-qualified again at the start of last season. And this is the first time I've managed to get a ticket. But what a place to go, Monaco. So I'm looking forward to that. So these kind of things are just make it incredible, you know.
Of course.
And yeah, we've been up and down this season on the pitch. But I think overall, I'd say we're doing okay. We're doing okay. We're sitting okay in the league. We're through for only the second time in 10 seasons to the fourth round of the FA Cup. And we are flying pretty high in the Champions League with a really good chance of qualifying in the top 8 for that, which would take us through to the round of 16. So that would be incredible. I tipped us at the start of the season to get to the quarterfinals. To a lot of people were like raising their eyebrows at that, but we've got if we get to top 8, we're basically one knockout round away from the quarterfinals, which would just be unbelievable. So yeah, we've been okay. We've been okay. Form's been up and down, but I'm certainly not complaining where we're sitting currently.
And I mean, to be fair, Justin, as a neutral, which I very much am when it comes to the Champions League, apart from wanting Liverpool to get beat, of course. I've actually found the format somewhat refreshing. I've quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Obviously, interesting for us. We didn't know any different, really, because it's the first time we've qualified for a long time. So we're going into it fresh, and it probably helped us a little bit. A lot of the more established Champions League clubs have found it a little bit hard to sort of get used to it, which I think is a good thing. You know, you don't want you want throw a sort of grenade into the mix and shake it up a bit. So yeah, if we can finish in that top 8, a few of the big boys across Europe, I think, are going to have to scramble around to try and qualify, then qualify again, you know, for the quarterfinals. So yeah, I think it's good. I think anything that makes it, you know, I'll go back to when we won it, when you had to be the champions, like, you know, you had to be the champion of your country to even qualify. So yeah, I think it's diluted it a little bit, having 4 and 5 clubs from each league to be able to qualify. But it gives the likes of us and Newcastle the season before, and who knows, Forest even next season to qualify for these competitions and experience it.
Yeah, I mean, from a league point of view, obviously, as you pointed out, then it's been slightly up and down. But I mean, you're still sitting in 8th place. I think that there's been so much. I mean, as the Premier League always is, it throws up some strange results from time to time. Anyone could beat anyone. Particularly this season, though, it seems like the top 10 or 12 teams are just swapping points every week.
Yeah, everybody's beating everybody, and I think in a way that's helped us. You know, last season we sort of our consistency levels were much better, and I think a lot of the sort of established bigger sides fell away terribly. Obviously, Man United are continuing to struggle. Newcastle dropped off last season with the Champions League thing thrown into them. Chelsea fell apart and looked absolutely dreadful. So it was only really Man City that walked away with it. Arsenal and Liverpool that were doing that. I mean, Liverpool didn't look that great last season, but I don't know how they've managed to do what they've done this year. But Slot's come in and just done unbelievably. But yeah, outside really the top two this season, and probably Forest, which has been unbelievable. Everybody else is just beating everybody else, which has allowed our inconsistent form to keep us retained within that top sort of 8. So I think it's looking like top 5 are going to get Champions League next season if all the English clubs continue to qualify and go through to the latter stages. So it could mean sort of 5th, 6th, 7th, even 8th could be European qualification next season. And for me, at the start of this season, it was imperative we qualify for Europe again, because you have to keep the momentum going, keep the old, as we all know, the bank balance topped up every year. So having European games helps that. And really just, our consistency, that's where we've struggled this season. We're conceding far too many goals. We can't keep clean sheets for love nor money. But at the start of the season, we were scoring plenty. So we were conceding first in lots of games, but our attacking output was so good that we were just beating teams with a 10, 15-minute burst of quality, which sort of was a little bit like what happened against West Ham in the FA Cup. We were dreadful for the first half, pretty average for the start of the second half, although we did improve slightly. Then we just suddenly clicked with the last 20 minutes to go. And we probably could have won it 3 or 4 in the end, and that was how we was at the start of the season. So it depends what Villa turns up each game at the moment to how good we are.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at that obviously before we came on, and I mean, my perception of it before you look into kind of the data and the stats was, as you described at the start, a little bit up and down. I guess, compounded by there's a few injuries you've had at key times as well. But you look at it and you haven't, as you said before, you maybe started the season scoring quite a bit. You're now down there in terms of, the team who scores one of the fewest goals. I think you're something like 14th in the league in terms of goals scored, and you've conceded 32 as well.
Yeah.
Is it been? I mean, again, I'm a little bit naive here in terms of, have you had many injuries? Has it been key players you've been missing, or has it just been a bit of a?
Not as many as we did last year. I mean, we had 3 cruciates in the first week of the season last year, which was absolutely unbelievable, and yet still went on to finish in the top 4. This season hasn't been as bad, although recently we've lost Pau Torres to a 2-month injury, broken bone in his foot, and now we've just lost John McGinn for a few weeks with a hamstring, I think it is, or some kind of strain. So it hasn't been horrifically bad. We lost Duran for a 3-match ban for an absolutely ridiculous red card at Newcastle, which was never a red card for me. But he's back now, so unlucky for Everton, but he's been absolutely incredible for us this season.
Yeah, he's incredible.
Our sort of attacking players who were excellent last year has dropped off a little bit. Watkins has been good, but not as good as he was last year. Leon Bailey, who was incredible last season, has dropped right off, and we lost Moussa Diaby obviously in the summer, and we lost Douglas Luiz in the summer for FFP reasons. The squad it had to sort of had a bit of a tweak in the summer, but we're sort of settling down a bit now. But the 2 sort of standout attacking players for us this season has been Morgan Rogers, who's been incredible, and John Duran, who just literally every time he come off the bench for the first 3 months of the season seemed to score a world-class goal. I think he's got a one-man goal of the season competition at Villa at the moment. It's been very interesting. It looks like we're getting some deals over the line now. It looks like Daniel Milan from Dortmund he's done, and that looks like he's done. We're letting Philogene Bidace go to Ipswich, and it looks like we're making a profit on that deal, which absolutely blows my mind. It's just a ridiculous piece of business, that is. So there is players that have seem to be on the way out. Carlos seems to be going to as well, so it looks like a centre half's going to come in, and it looks like the one position we needed to add to in the summer we never got the deal over the line was a right back, and that looks like it's pretty close to being done as well. So there's lots of Mingueza, the right back who was come from Barcelona, and Monchi and our scouting team were out there looking at him at the weekend, and it seems to be pretty close to being done. Another really experienced player. So I think that the little holes and gaps in the squad seem to be close to being filled now. So, if if we can, the conceding goals, mate. Honestly, I've never known anything like it. I think there's a stat going around Villa that we've conceded 13 times to the opposition's first shot on target this season. Now, that is the first 2 or 3 times it happened, you think, oh, that's the first time they've hit the target and they've scored. But when it seems to happen, I mean, 13 times is a hell of a lot of games when we've probably only played, 30 games this season. So nearly half of the games. And West Ham did it to it again. The first shot on target went in. You're thinking, how does this keep happening? Is it luck? I don't think it's luck. It's just the way it seems to have dropped. We just seem to, I've renamed us punished FC, that we just get punished for like a mistake at the back. Other teams seem to get away with it. But, yeah, it's just the way it's felt. That's how the cookies crumble for us this season. But like you said, we're 8th in the league, only a handful of points off the top. Well, 8 points off second, if you like. So a little run could easily push us back up the table. We're only probably a 1 win in our last 2 games in the Champions League away from finishing in the top 8 of that, and a home tie in the next round of the FA Cup, albeit a difficult tie at home to Spurs.
Yeah, we've got Bournemouth who are our bogey team, to be fair.
Flying as well, aren't they?
I would have took anyone. I would have took most teams over them.
Yeah.
But I just want to touch on a couple of players that I wouldn't say caught me eye, but I obviously want to ask you about, because they're former Everton players, both of them. The first one, the last time we were on, you were absolutely raving about the start that Amadou Onana had made.
Yes.
I'd like to suggest that maybe you've seen a little bit more of the Onana that we've seen last season. Yes. And just talk to me about his form, his performances.
Yeah, I think when he came in, I was really excited, and I still am, to be honest. I think he's done really well at Villa. His statistics are pretty good. He's averaging about, I'd say, 7 out of 10 most weeks, which is the minimum you expect from a player like that. I think he's been, the type of player that we wanted in that role was. Douglas Luiz was a different type of player to Onana. We knew this. He was a more sort of sit back quarterback style player. Really, really, excellent on the ball. Really good, like picking passes and creating chances and scoring goals. And we knew Onana wasn't that type. He was more of a bit of a enforcer in the middle of the park. Really physical, big lad. But we missed Kamara for the first start of the season, who he's probably our best double pivot, number 6 at the club. And they haven't really played together that much because of injuries and suspensions and just the form of Yuri Tielemans earlier in the season. He was just absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, he was,
so Onana's been a little bit in and out recently, but I fully expect him to start in the double pivot with Boubacar Kamara against you on Wednesday. And I think that partnership is probably, it's very important to us, and I think he's done well. I do. I know that a lot of Everton fans were, not happy to see him go, but they weren't upset to see him go because, his form probably did drop off a bit. One thing he has done, I think he did at Everton, was the fans love him. He's got a really, really infectious personality. He loves it before the games, after the games when we win, and that's the type of player that you just take to your heart, don't you? So, I'd say he's a solid 7 out of 10 signing so far for us. Scored a couple of 3 goals. He's been a threat in opposition box, which I hoped he would be, and he's been good defensively as well.
Fair play. Another player I want to briefly ask you about, and it's just out of interest, really. He seems to have got more minutes this season, but I don't know if it's just, again, my perception of it. Ross Barkley, again, I wanted to kind of,
Yeah. I mean, I was all over this in the summer. I was one of, I'm not saying a few people that was absolutely over the moon when we were linked with him, but there was quite a few dissenting voices. Oh, why do we need a player of his age? Why do we need a player like this to come in? But I think for the money, the quality, I mean, he had an unbelievable season last season at Luton, and I watched him a lot. I went to Luton away, I watched him at home against us, and he basically ran the show for them. And what's happened to him at Luton was he's sort of gone away, and I think he realised that was his last throw of the dice of playing in the top flight, and he just took it with both hands, and he almost thought, sod it, I'm just going to go out in style. This is my last season in the Premier League, and he was brilliant. And I think him dropping into that double pivot has sort of allowed him to extend his career, and people think, because he obviously started out at you as an attacking midfielder that used to run at people, reminded me very much of, in his early days, of like a Gaza type when he just picked the ball up. and he'd
He was
just run past
outstanding.
people for fun. Yeah, and he'd score goals, and he'd light the place up, and everybody be on the edge of the seats when he picked the ball up, and that's what got him the move to Chelsea and England, all that. But he's coming now, and he's a very, very important part of our squad. I do genuinely think that. Yes, he's not a starter week in, week out, but when he comes off the bench, he's generally coming on into either difficult situations or trying to see games out. And his experience and his ability on the ball, unfortunately, he's picked up a little knock. He has played the last couple of 3 games, but he's picked up a knock. So I don't think he'll be available for Wednesday. But for the money, pound for money, I don't think you could get a better signing than him. Honestly, I think he seems to be a good chap around the place as well. Good professional and a nice bloke. So, yeah, I think it's been a really good signing.
No, fair play, because as you say, he was he's a huge talent. Ross Barkley. He started off so well at Everton. Obviously left the club in somewhat controversial circumstances, in the sense that he could have actually went for money and then waited to ran his contract down. But it did seem like it was going to be, as you suggested, then a case of him just fading away. But he's rolled the sleeves up at Luton, and fair play. Looks like he's settled in at Villa, and he's found a home.
Yeah, he scored 3 goals for us this season as well. Important goals at important moments. He's been important for us in the Champions League. His experience in Europe has been invaluable as well. So yeah, I think, as I say, for the money we paid for him, I think it's I think a couple of £1 million, wherever it was. You don't get players like that.
No.
For that kind of money. So yeah, and I don't think he's that old either. So what is he, 31, something like that?
I'm not even sure if he's 30 yet, but
31. He's 31. Yeah,
he's got a bit of time, definitely still.
Yeah.
Okay, well, obviously previewing the game specifically on Thursday, you just said John Duran's back from his suspension. Do you expect John Duran to come in?
Well, we did our preview last night, and me, Luke, and Ryan sat and debated our starting 11, and 2 of us said Watkins would start, and one of us, me, sort of fancied Duran to come straight back in. But I think the more I've thought about it, there's a chance I think he could start, but I think based on the fact he hasn't played for a bit. I think the important thing is, and Unai Emery doesn't tend to do this. Well, he doesn't say, does he? But I think behind the scenes he probably does. He doesn't look too far ahead of the next game. But we've got a very hard game against Arsenal on the Saturday away. And then we obviously travel to Monaco next Tuesday for a really important Champions League game. So I think it all depends on how he wants to balance out these players. And the fact that Duran hasn't played for 3 or 4 weeks, it could be time maybe just to give Ollie a bit of a rest and say, okay, sit this one out and we'll get you back for Arsenal on Saturday. Or he might go the other way around, let Ollie play again today and then rest him on Saturday for the Arsenal game, and then maybe bring him back for the Monaco game next week. But I'm just glad they're both fit and available now. We've missed that option off the bench, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. So who else? You just said the 2, obviously the double pivot of Onana and Kamara.
Yeah, I think defensively wise, we're a little bit stretched. So I think Matty Cash will retain at right back. Emi Martinez was left out, or had a slight knock apparently against West Ham, so he wasn't risked against West Ham. But I fully expect him to be back in goal against Everton. So central defensive wise, we're a little bit stretched because we've got obviously Pau Torres is injured, and it's looking like Carlos is off to Turkey. He has got a bit of a knock as well, so I don't think he would be in the squad. So we will just probably stay with Konsa and Tyrone Mings, who's back fit and firing again. Left back is probably the only real debate. Ian Maatsen came in from Dortmund in the summer and hasn't had many minutes, simply because another ex-Evertonian has been absolutely, probably, arguably along with Yuri Tielemans, the best player this season for us. He's been absolutely outstanding for us down that left-hand side. His ability going forward and his balls into the box, he's been really, really good for us. So I probably expect Luca Dean to come back in, because Ian Maatsen started against West Ham. So I think Luca Dean comes in for that. And then I think because
he's going to get a lovely reception, Luca Dean.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he'll love running down that left wing at Everton. He's probably glad when you move stadium, so you're further away, to be honest.
Yeah.
So obviously Barkley's injured at the moment, and John McGinn's injured, so that leaves probably, like I said, Onana and I would think Onana and Kamara will be in a double pivot. The only other option in there would be to drop Tielemans into the double pivot and with Kamara, which would allow us to play a more attacking three in behind whoever it is plays up front. But I think he'll go with Onana and Tielemans, especially as it's coming back to Everton. He knows a lot of the Everton players, doesn't he? So it'd be good for him to play.
And the thing is, he's such an asset from the set plays, and that's obviously going to be
he's great.
Yeah.
And if we all know, going back to your old club, is a huge incentive, and you want to make sure you show the plot that the Evertonians that.
Well, obviously, at your place, he pretty much gave us the first goal. I think it was the first goal.
Yeah, that's nice of him, wasn't it? Yeah, really nice.
Nice kid.
Thanks, Amadou. Yeah, that's great. So then in behind, let's say Ollie Watkins plays. I think that's the most likely. You're going to be Morgan Rogers on the left. I think Yuri Tielemans on the right, centrally, sort of in the 8-10. And it's a difficult. I actually thought possibly that Jacob Ramsey's back fit again now. So I actually thought Ramsey, Rogers, and Tielemans would play in behind whoever is up front. But I think the consensus last night is that the lads came up with that I think Bailey will retain his position on the right hand side. He's been really, really up and down this season. Unfortunately for him, more down than up. So that's why I probably went with Ramsey, but I think probably Bailey retains his place. But we'll have a decent bench with the likes of Jacob Ramsey and Duran off it as well. So we'll have plenty of options off the bench if things. And with the 5 substitutes these days, you can change things around when you need to, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be really interesting. Obviously, from our side of things, we know somewhat what to expect from David Moyes. Obviously, we had a long time with David Moyes in charge. I think it's fair to say he hasn't changed his spots much over the years. We become the job he done at West Ham was probably built on similar foundations to the job he done at Everton. And I don't think, and I think that the advantage of Moyes coming in terms of the transition, it's going to be somewhat a limited transition. I don't think he's going to mess. I don't think he has to mess with the defensive unit. It's very strong anyway. And it's just the ideas or how he tries to mix things up going forward, because we've been so bad going forward in terms of just having zero creativity, no plan B whatsoever. But again, what did we expect ultimately?
Well, just look out tomorrow night for when you have your first shot on target. Okay, bear that in mind. Just bear that in mind, because that's what we're going into thinking. Christ almighty, it can't happen again, surely.
Interestingly, in David Moyes' first spell, I can still remember the first shot on target was David Unsworth, and it was a goal as well. Christ. So we scored with the first shot on target under David Moyes last time when he took over.
Don't talk to me about David Unsworth. That's a mute point for Villa fans. He doesn't even know where Villa is, does he, David Unsworth?
How long did he last? Like 2 days?
About 4 hours. I think about 4 hours, and his missus said, I don't want to go to Villa, and then buggered off again afterwards. That was the most bizarre transfer in football history, I think.
Actually, I forgot about that. That definitely must be the shortest transfer ever.
I think it was. It'd be interesting because of the David Moyes effect. We obviously West Ham, we played them in the FA Cup. They had the new manager in the first half. They looked really, really good, and it only took a real good spell from us to wrestle that game away from them. I think for Villa's point of view, we've got to just keep the crowd quiet. I remember my first manager when I first started watching Villa was Graham Taylor, who was a phenomenal manager for us for many years, finished runners-up after getting promoted. And, he left to be the England manager. Then many years later, when we was in dire trouble, came back for a second time, a bit like Moyes is doing for Everton. So, a lot of people think a lot of Moyes. So I think there's going to be a really good atmosphere at Goodison, especially it's the last time Villa fans will be there. I'm gutted I won't be there to say goodbye to the fantastic stadium. I'm gutted for you. I think the new stadium looks lovely. I've been round, had a walk round it. It looks amazing. But there's a bit of a lump in the throat when these old stadiums start disappearing, isn't it? The Moyes, I am worried about the Moyes effect and the fact that if you get an early goal, Everton can be a difficult place to be. But recently we've had a decent record there, so I'm hoping Villa turn up. Because if we turn up, generally we're a very good side. But this season we haven't been as consistent as we can be. And that's the worry for me.
How have you done against West Ham in the last few years? I've only just come to. I mean, obviously they've had a different manager the last, 6 to 12 months, but it'd be interesting to
Not
see
too
how
bad.
you did it. Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad. I mean, I say we won the first game of the season away at West Ham, and when your man Anana scored within about 5 minutes, and it set the tone for the game. We won there. So yeah, we've done okay against them, to be honest. So yeah, it's not particularly Moyes' way of playing. Although when he was in his first spell at Everton, it was very difficult to play against Everton. The likes of Big Dunk and everything. So I've just it's like I say, it's keeping the crowd quiet. That kick-off, it's going to be absolutely noisy when he walks out and he gets introduced to the stadium. And the players are going to feed off that. So I think we've got to keep it really, really tight for the first 10 or 15. And if we can nick into the lead early, another problem we've had is when we've gone into the lead, we haven't shut games down and gone and got the second and third. We haven't been able to do that, and it's always allowed. We've given away last minute goals against 2 or 3 teams this season. I mean, the Forest away one was disappointing. We conceded twice in the last 5-6 minutes and lost there after being 1-0 up. I think it was Bournemouth at home. I think it was 1-0 up in the 90 something minutes, and we conceded a free kick and they scored. So that we've got this little bit of a track record of if we're not 2 ahead, we tend to lose these last minute goals. So that's another thing to look out for.
It's interesting you say that, because I can remember it was almost one of his one of the fundamentals of his first spell was how late we'd score in games. We'd score so many goals in injury time. It would mean at times that we would start slowly, then we just get into games and it would be really cagey. But I remember last time the amount of times that we'd score a last minute winner or we'd get 2 goals in stoppage time. So I'm hoping that he can.
It's an old school thing, isn't it? A lot of older managers like Ferguson, obviously, the famous Fergie time. But if you're not playing well and you're not in it, as long as you're only one behind, you only need a free kick, a corner, a long ball, like we watched Tamworth the other day, a long throw into the box, something just to cause havoc. And you only need that one little bit of magic. I think it was Bournemouth at home. It was just whipped into the near post. Nobody picked the man up. He got a bit of a glancing head, and it was in the back of the net. And again, we absolutely dominated and should have been out of sight. We've suddenly drawn it 1-1, and it feels like you've lost the game. So that's the way it's got to be.
You can't trump our
and was it 2-0 up or something?
2-0 up and got beat 3-2.
That was nearly an injured time as well, wasn't it?
Well, the first goal they scored was the 87th minute, and they scored another 2 after that.
Mad, isn't it? Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm going to trouble you then for a prediction.
Oh dear. Well, I think both teams. If you want to get on the betting coupon, put both teams to score. Definitely. I see goals in this game because I think Everton are going to have a go. They're just naturally from a new manager. They're not going to want to sit back and be boring. But I'm hoping we've got enough in the locker to see us over the line. So I'm going to go for 2-1 for the win. But you wouldn't expect anything different, would you?
Of course, no, absolutely. I'm going to oppose you the other way. I agree there'll be goals.
Okay.
I think the new manager bounce, whether it was David Moyes or anyone, I think we've tended to benefit, and most teams tend to benefit from that. But I really do agree with you. I think the atmosphere will be absolutely bouncing on Thursday. There was so many fans, and we've got to the absolute end of the tether with Sean Dyche, and I think some of the players, if you believe the rumours, were in a similar position as well. So I think we'll probably get an extra 10, if not 20%, from the team.
Just make sure you don't go on Thursday because it's on Wednesday.
Oh, absolutely! I'll try my best to do that. It's been a long week. It's been a long weekend. Just
you'll turn and think, "Where the hell's this game?"
Yeah. Oh yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, yeah, definitely Wednesday. But yeah, 2-1. I'm going to go to the Blues.
Okay, fair enough. We'll take that.
Justin, thanks so much as always, mate. Appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime, mate. Yeah.
Best of luck in the Champions
Everton.
League.
I think good club, Everton, proper club. Like I always count them as similar, to Villa. Good fans, good stadium. But yeah, best of luck for the rest of the season. Just after
I look
Wednesday.
forward to welcoming you to our new home as well. I don't even know
definitely,
what it's called.
Mate. Yeah,
name, just the Bramley Moore.
Have you got a name for it?
No, it's just.
Do you think it's going to be sponsored?
It's got to be. I think it's got to be. Yeah. Well, I say it's got to be. I think it'd be missing a huge opportunity if they didn't. But I'm just hoping it's not some weird I've got a feeling it's going to be Amazon. Something telling me
Really?
it's going to be Amazon. Have got a huge presence in. They've got a massive depot not far from.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's in Knowsley, a few miles away. So I've got a feeling it might be Amazon.
Well,
But
as global brands go, there's not many bigger, is there?
exactly, yeah. And again, they've got their foot in, haven't they, with the Premier League as a brand in terms of the
Yeah,
broadcasting sort of thing. I don't know if that is some kind of conflict. Actually, it might be interesting, but I don't
I
know.
don't think they've got any
We'll see.
games after this season, have they? I think they've lost all their rights, haven't
True,
they?
true. So
So
maybe
they
that's
might want to do that, yeah. Start
the push.
sponsoring stadiums and stuff.
We'll see. But yeah, look forward to welcoming you there, mate. It'll
Okay.
be a much more pleasant experience from an away
Well, I do
fan's
like
point of view.
me, I like coming up to Liverpool. We like a weekend out in Liverpool. So hopefully, if it's a Saturday game, we can come up and because it's not that far, is it? It's from the town centre.
It's a good, probably a 10-15 minute walk. Depends on which end of town you're at.
The last time we went up to have a weekend in there, we drove out to Liverpool, and my wife is over here, standing over here. I said, "Why are we going this way?" I said, "We've just got to stop off on the way home." She said, "Why?" And then I pulled up outside Bramley Moor, and I said, "What's this?" I said, "The Everton Stadium. I'm just coming to have a look round." She had to sit in the car for 10 minutes while I was taking pictures outside. Just have a look. It's lovely. It looks lovely. Really nice.
Yeah, it does. But the season tickets actually went on sale today. So
right. How much are they? Dare I ask?
No, they're not too bad. I think it's about a 10 to 15% increase ish.
Right.
So it's not bad at all. I mean, there's obviously a lot of corporate seats and better seats available.
That's the way it's going, isn't it?
But yeah, fair play to the club. They haven't gone too far with the price increases. I think my particular seat is another £150, I think.
So I've got to ask you a question then. Where do you sit at Goodison?
I sit in the park end, so where you're in the away stand, you're looking to the left. That's where I sit.
So
like
the
right
left,
in the middle.
that one, right. So are you going to replicate your seat?
No.
Interesting.
I'm sitting in the east stand, which is so most of our corporate seats are in the west stand, and literally you can't.
So is that along the pitch side, along the touch line?
So I'm not going to sit behind the goal because one of the north stand is the standing section in the lower. So I wasn't going to go in the standing section. The upper of the north stand, I think, is some away fans.
Right.
Sorry, no, got to do it. The north stand is going to be what is like the new Gladys Street. It's got a standing section. So with respect, it's not really my scene that.
We're all getting older. That's the problem, mate.
Yeah,
I sit across the Trinity Road. I just like a nice view higher up, so you get a nice perspective on the pitch. But I'll look forward to coming to the new stadium and giving it a look next season, hopefully.
And the interesting thing as well, you can walk all the way around the concourse, apart from into the away bit.
Oh, right. It'd be interesting to see, because I went to Spurs' new stadium, and that is just... Have you been there?
Yeah, that's phenomenal, isn't it?
It's just ridiculous. That's the future of
it's very similar. Very
Yeah.
similar in terms of the concourses and stuff like
What's
that.
What's the capacity at your new stadium?
55.
Okay. So it's about 10 more than Goodison, is it?
15 more. Well, it's 53, so it's 13 more than Goodison.
Right, so you're about 40, about the same as Villa, aren't we? We're just over 42, 43, Yeah, we've got big next 10 years, I think we've got big discussions about what we do with Villa Park over the next 10 years. It'll be interesting to see which way we go.
Yeah, no, I mean, as you say, it's a sad goodbye, and it's been and that's that's the biggest thing or the most pleasing thing for me about Sean Dyche leaving now. He's put a dampener on a lot of the the kind of stuff around saying goodbye to Goodison. He's been really negative around the whole thing.
It feels nice that you should, barring an absolute disaster with Moyes, he should be the manager that takes you into the new stadium, and a manager that's been there for a long time.
I said that he deserves it. Yeah, exactly. I think if there's anyone who's probably fitting to take him to the stadium, it probably is David Moyes. But
the only one thing I will ask is the walk from the dressing room to the pitch to knacker the players out, the opposition players out? Or is that real? Is it? Was that real when all over?
that's not what I've heard. I mean, that might just be a
Okay.
vicious rumour, that one.
Have you
But
seen that video, that
I've
TikTok
seen it.
video of only like
Yeah,
about 3 hour walk from the
yeah,
dressing room to the pitch?
yeah. I'm not sure
It's a good
it's as long
tactic.
as I'm not sure it's as long as the video makes it look,
No,
but yeah, we'll
probably
see.
not. No,
Yeah. But anyway, Justin, appreciate it. Nice one for your time,
no
mate.
problem,
And
mate. Yes.
yeah, take it easy. Speak to you soon.
See you later.